Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, July 26, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card that we are starting our day off with today is... we've got here our 8 of Wands, and it is in its upright. We like to see this in its upright. This is speaking a lot right now to communication, planning, activity, action, a lot of movement today, a lot of productivity. We like this because you will recall we did see a lot of blocked Wands energy yesterday coming through in the deck. We did recognize there were some spaces or places that were requiring some points of readjustment, but we're seeing here that this is that point of clearance, and this being marked with a lot of activity today for both masculine and feminine energy, waiting for potentially any communication. You should be receiving that today, or even being able to communicate what you are trying to communicate effectively at this time will be working very successfully for you today. Second card that we are coming through right now in our 5-card spread is... we have here the Devil card in its reversal, and we love to see these cards in combination. What are we seeing this communication and this movement is towards right now? It is all for the sake of healing, a point of recognizing any kind of unhealed karmic energy, any bad modalities of thought, unhealthy coping mechanisms. We see here that there is productive movement, but all with a care and concentration in terms of feeling for this moment what is truly best for you. And also this could be working right now a lot on looking at situations and circumstances right now to try to identify if these are places and spaces that are best for you. Are they facilitating your healing? Are they moving you in the space of feeling like you are healing? Or are they pulling you back into bad situations or circumstances, or anything that you feel is effectively limiting you in terms of your own process of growth and prosperity at this moment? What we really like about this is showing a lot of productivity, but this communication is all in the regard of the best case outcome and the best case scenario, and trying to get some object orientation into making sure that you're moving in these spaces. What you'll recall yesterday as well, that we identified, especially with that feminine energy, is the fact that the feminine energy at this moment is moving with the state of really protecting their heart space at this time. This could even be for the feminine a lot of work right now to try to facilitate that healing so that you can move into a space of having that open expression as it relates to your emotional center at this time. While for masculine energy, this could be working on repairing a lot of those concerns and feelings that you yourself were experiencing yesterday as it relates to your own sense of stability at this moment, and some of that emotional overwhelm that we saw was happening in combination with some of those feelings of lack of stability. This is showing that productive process, helping to facilitate that movement out of that blocked energy that we saw yesterday. Third card that we are receiving right now in our 5-card spread, center card for today's reading is... we have here more signs of productive communication. Not only are we seeing the fact that this communication is moving in a positive direction, but we're seeing that a lot of this is giving a lot of newness to the communication. This could be communication that is currently happening right now that has new ideas, new points of consideration, new points to be addressed right now that are allowing for some kind of change to facilitate that point of healing. You will recall that one of the things that we identified yesterday as it relates to the energy was that there was some point of objectivity that was coming through as it relates to the fact and the need of having to have some change in circumstances and situations to help facilitate the blockages being cleared up. For feminine, this was helping them overcome some of their heart blockages at this moment, while for masculine, this was coming into a space of deeper stability for yourself and confidence as you go forward from this point. So what we're really seeing here is this communication that's coming through today. Not only is it facilitating that sense of healing, but also this could speak to new communication coming through, or if it's ongoing communication, this is some kind of new piece of information or new aspect that is helping you feel that reassurance that this is moving you in the correct, proper direction. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. the fourth card for our 5-card spread. We love seeing this as well. We've got our Fool card energy here. This is some beautiful energy that we are starting our day off with today, because what we're really identifying right now is this is a moment that you are leaving yourself open to taking new approaches, new options. You will recall that we have received not one but 10 cards for our card of the day over the last week or so, which is showing the fact that there are cycles that are completing right now as new cycles are beginning. Masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to, are both putting a lot of care and energy right now into these new approaches and new directions. Why? All for the sake of maintaining and facilitating the healing process that you yourself are currently experiencing at this time. This is also encouraging you to either be receptive to receiving positive information or positive communication that you feel is working in a restorative fashion, or simultaneously inspiring you yourself to move forward in communication that you feel is moving in a positive direction, potentially to get that clarity of perspective as it relates to whether you feel it is moving in a productive space or not, or if it's holding you back in unhealthy or unhealed coping mechanisms, patterns of thought, or karmic energy. Beautiful energy that we are starting our day off with today. 5th card that we are going through today with our 5-card spread is, we have here our High Priestess, and we love to see her coming up in her upright, and this will feel a bit different depending on whether you align to feminine or masculine energy right now, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. For feminine energy specifically, there is something very important about the approach that you're taking right now that is showing that you are putting a lot of care and concentration in approaching things with a logical, intuitive mindset as you continue forward from this point. That this is a moment that, again, we have identified, and we saw this coming about yesterday with that Empress card in its reversal, because you will recall that one of the things that we identified yesterday was the fact that I mentioned that when we see that Empress card in its reversal, that sometimes is the feminine energy needing to block off their emotional center to a certain degree so that they can access their more logical, intuitive nature. Feminine energy is kind of moved into this space right now. They're not allowing their emotions to effectively dictate their actions at this time. Rather, they are using a lot of concentration on focusing on their intuition and their logic-based approach as it relates to the direction that they're heading into right now, all to the degree of moving into spaces and places that feel that they are productive and healing for them at this time. This is what's allowing them to move forward right now in new pathways, in new communications, in new opportunities that are showing this ability to have this point of healing, that's showing that ability to allow for this healing to go forward from this point. While for masculine energy right now, this is simultaneously a moment that you yourself are potentially also moving in the direction. If you are in union right now, you are working in collaboration with a very logic-based feminine energy that is utilizing a lot of their intuition. You are also kind of reaping the benefits of that energy as you move forward from this point, using them almost as a guidance system to help you navigate any spaces or places that you are trying to come into a space of healing on. This is allowing you to take some of these new approaches at this time, and potentially, as we saw, there was this degree for the masculine energy right now of trying to move back into communication, potentially with the feminine energy that's heart was effectively blocked, or they were feeling somewhat blocked off from them at this point. For the masculine and feminine energy that are in union right now, this is feminine kind of coming into this higher logic-based approach, but that's also facilitating a lot of this movement going forward at this time. While for the masculine energy that is not in union right now, this could be moving in the direction of a feminine energy that you recognize is in this modality. You are working to effectively manifest some sort of new approach or change in towards of reaching this energy right now that is allowing you to potentially consider this point of adjustment. We saw that with the magician energy yesterday. The masculine energy that's working to move back towards a feminine energy that has that point of guard up to a certain degree is utilizing new communication and new approaches to try to facilitate the healing in the communication between the masculine and feminine energy. The feminine for this part is moving forward in a space of being receptive, but only to communication that they feel is coming forward towards them in a positive and healing fashion. Feminine energy is committed to this path of healing for themselves at this moment, which is allowing them to move forward in this degree and this capacity. For both masculine and feminine energy, this is really beautiful energy that we're seeing today. A lot of movement and productivity in spaces and places that are all facilitating the healing journey, as opposed to putting you in any spaces that are just creating blockages at this time. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Eight of Wands in combination with our Devil card in its reversal. So what we really love to see here is, again, a lot of productive movement, a lot of productive opportunity, a lot of productive communication, plans, activity, action, but all moving in the space or place of a healing journey. Navigating these situations and circumstances. We saw some of those hurdles that we witnessed coming through yesterday, but what we really are identifying here is this is that moment that you are allowing yourself to move away from anything that you feel is not aligned to your path at this time, all for that sense of deeper healing, all for coming into that higher point of healing. So a lot of positive, productive communication and progress today for both masculine and feminine energy. May I please have one card to clarify? I think that's the card. As it falls on the floor, but it's okay. So what we're really seeing here that's coming through right now is, again, this is overcoming some of those obstacles and these points of anxiety that we're seeing. That there is a lot of productive communication here because there is this degree or desire of wanting to have some point of success here as it relates to some situations and circumstances that you're working on healing through right now. And what we see here with this Six of Wands and its reversal is this is the identification point of some of the setbacks that we have been seeing over the last few days. This path has not necessarily been entirely clear over the last few days. For the masculine and feminine energy that is working together in union, this is work that you are mutually doing to try to address and to put a lot of action and consideration into some situations and circumstances right now, with the hope of having these points of success, having a greater sense of victory going forward from here. For masculine and feminine energy, one of the reasons that we see that you are so committed to this path right now of coming into a space of healing for yourself is that, to a certain degree, is the metric for success. The metric for success is making sure that you're moving in a space of positivity, of healing, of something that is going to be aligned to your own path right now. And this is that clarification right now that you're potentially working through right now in your communication in terms of what you are receiving and what you are putting forth right now, to determine if there are situations and circumstances that, if they are in a space that you are feeling that there are some problems around, if they are showing some ability to come into a point of victory in the way of them being able to show that there is some ability to heal here. If this is for the masculine and feminine energy in union right now, this is joint work that you're doing to try to identify these situations and scenarios as you go forward from this point. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in union right now, this could be a lot of care and consideration that you're putting right now in the communication that you are experiencing or receiving at this time, to ascertain and to make sure that there is this ability to heal in the wake of the communication itself, making sure that the communication is coming through in a productive fashion and not necessarily leading you to any setbacks or any stumbling blocks that may put you back on a path that feels like it is not aligned to your highest good at this time. For the masculine and feminine energy that are not in union right now, this could even speak towards a lot of communication oriented towards any difficulties in partnership right now, identifying any points of anxiety, specifically for the feminine that was feeling some of that anxiety around the heart space right now. While for masculine, again, that point of identification through the communication to try to orient and understand if there is an ability to have a point of success through some of the ability here in terms of trying to move things back into a state of healing. There is something here that we're seeing as it relates to the communication today that has a lot to do with moving things into a productive space. So this could either be a point of correction right now, or a point of identification around situations or scenarios that you may identify do not have this possibility of healing, through which point you may be communicating that as well. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Devil card in its reversal, which we like to see, in combination with our Page of Wands energy. So this is that point, allowing for new opportunities, new communication, new points of view to come in right now, all based on and orienting on them and really identifying whether you are experiencing the fact that they feel like they are coming from a place of productivity, whether they're coming from a place of healing. There might even be a lot of apologetic kind of energy coming through right now, because one of the things that needs to be observed right now as it relates to any new communication coming through is some point of accuracy in terms of helping to identify why someone may feel to a certain degree right now like something isn't potentially something that feels like it is a safe environment, or isn't feeling like it is moving potentially as well or as positively as you would ideally identify right now. But what we really see here is this moment of getting that point of clarity, having that point of clarification coming through, helping you identify whether these new things that are coming towards you right now are coming towards you for the benefit of your own healing, or if they're keeping you in those unhealthy modalities of thoughts, unhealthy coping mechanisms, or even unhealthy connections. This is that point of clarity to see if these are spaces that can be healed or spaces that need to be moved away from. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with... There she is again. She was in her reversal yesterday. She's still in her reversal. But listen, we can understand why we're seeing the feminine energy in their reversal here. Why are we seeing the feminine Empress energy in their reversal here? We are seeing the feminine energy in their reversal here because this especially is going to feel a little bit different depending on whether you align to feminine or masculine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. Feminine energy is protecting their heart space. Feminine energy is holding back their own heart space right now. They're putting themselves emotionally at a distance. Why are they putting themselves at an emotional distance right now? Because they are committed to their own healing journey. Because there's some orientation point that masculine and feminine energy, the feminine energy is feeling right now at this moment, where they are feeling a lot of hesitation in opening their heart, to opening themselves up to situations and circumstances, because feminine energy feels right now that there is a point where they feel when they open their heart, they have often opened it into the wrong spaces or the wrong places, and that something around this emotional energy of the feminine sometimes leads them into spaces that are not necessarily in the best interest of the karmic healing. This is feminine energy putting a lot of caution in their approach to partnerships and to the relationships in their life right now. Not from a lack or a desire of wanting to open up in that emotional way, but due to the fact that feminine energy is still experiencing or actively working through situations or circumstances where that ability to open themselves up emotionally have landed them in unhealthy or unhealed karmic situations and scenarios. This is why the feminine energy is holding their own heart space back to a certain extent right now, which is causing them to go into their headspace, the more logic-based intuition approach that we're seeing that is rising to the surface here. So this is a feminine energy that what we see here is this is not feminine energy effectively withdrawing from circumstances and situations at this time. What we're really identifying is this is a feminine energy that is allowing themselves or effectively shutting their emotional center down to a certain extent to maintain a degree of logic and intuition-based approach as it relates to the communication that they are receiving right now. So for feminine energy and masculine energy that's working in union right now, masculine energy is potentially even relying on a feminine energy that has this capability to do this right now. This is actually, for the masculine and feminine energy that are in union, this is actually potentially a benefit to the masculine energy because they recognize that the feminine energy is not going to allow themselves to emotionally move themselves into a space that might not necessarily be productive. Rather, masculine energy is potentially relying on a feminine energy that's able to maintain this degree of intuition and higher logic, even as they're feeling some work and an emotional upset, that is what the masculine energy is relying upon at this moment, and potentially even getting some insight or advice or information from this point. That's what's allowing the conversation to continue in a positive healing fashion. While for the masculine and feminine energy that are not in union, this is going to be a bit more difficult because what have we been seeing here for the masculine and feminine energy that are not in union right now? We identified that there's something here about the masculine energy trying to move back into union. Some of the masculine energy right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. There's something here with the masculine energy right now trying to move back in union towards a feminine energy, but that feminine energy is not necessarily coming at things from an emotionally receptive space. They're keeping their heart space blocked and guarded because they're taking on a very logic-based approach right now, because all to the need and desire of wanting to only move into positive, healed connections, working on their own healing journey right now that is requiring them to kind of shut down or move away or keep their own heart at a distance at this moment. For masculine energy, this is potentially having some potential communication directed towards a feminine energy that you experience is in this space, trying to ascertain if there is this possibility of healing here, potentially even trying to communicate that there is some degree or level of trust or working through right now that you can do with this energy, because you understand. This is for the masculine energy that's trying to have this approach right now. You understand, you see the feminine's perspective. You can recognize why the feminine is potentially in this space, and you're trying to utilize your own communication in terms of new degrees of communication, of new approaches to try to help this feminine energy deeply understand that you are also on that same healing journey. While for the other part of the masculine collective right now, this could be moving right now in the direction of, this could even be more than one feminine energy, I will point out, for some of the masculine energy that is not in union right now. Because we are seeing here that there is potentially some orientation right now towards this high priestess energy here. But this could even be more than one feminine energy the masculine's working through right now. But again, even so, feeling this degree right now that the communication that you're having towards the feminine, you're seeing a lot of this guard up just overall. And that's either coming through right now for the masculine energy is feeling like it's coming through as a bit like reactive and cold, or someone who's taking a very high logical approach as it relates to the communication in general right now. For feminine, this is just scrutinizing everything with under a very, very close lens to try to ascertain if it's coming from a place of authenticity and healing, or whether it's bringing you back into unhealthy coping mechanisms or patterns. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Page of Wands in combination with our Fool card energy. So again, we love to see this energy here today, because what this is really identifying is this is new communication, new points of view, new information coming in that's allowing you to take new approaches as you go forward from this point, potentially even getting that information that you are requiring right now to be able to take some leap of faith off into new opportunities and experiences at this moment. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Six of Cups in its reversal. Again, a lot of care and orientation that is being paid to right now in terms of what feels like it is healthy, what feels like it is supportive, what feels like it is productive, versus what is feeling like it is a blocked or unhealed karmic connection. This could even be, again, more validation on trying to move forward in these spaces and places to try to ascertain if there is some possibility of building back a healed karmic connection here. Because with our Six of Cups in its reversal, there is a lot of care and consideration that even at this moment you're potentially paying to those energies that you feel karmically bound to some extent, but that are not necessarily in a healed place. For some of the energy right now, this is that moment that you are potentially putting some energy of communication towards these unhealed karmic energies, again, to see if they have a possibility of healing. This could even be a new approach and direction that you're putting forth in these right now. Or for the other part of the collective, this is having some point of observation of accepting or acknowledging that you are making the determination point that this connection point cannot be healed, that it is not necessarily one that feels reciprocal or even. And that is also what you are communicating at this time as you move away from this type of energy. So again, a lot of orientation and concentration right now as to whether these are healed or working in a capacity of healing, or whether these just need to be departed upon as you proceed forward on this journey. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Fool card in combination with our High Priestess energy. Two beautiful cards that we love seeing in connection with one another, because what we're really identifying here is for both masculine and feminine energy right now, this will feel a bit different. There is, for masculine and feminine energy, this moment of taking this leap of faith, taking this new approach at this time. Feminine energy is utilizing their own sense of intuition and higher logic to guide them even as they take some leap of faith at this moment, into the point and degree that they have to effectively even shut off or close off their own emotionality, not letting their emotions guide their path right now, but really trying to use that higher logic and intuition and understanding that is requiring them to even with the feminine's really understanding here, even with utilizing all of their intuition, all of their logic right now, there is something here that feels like a bit of a leap of faith. There is kind of a point of a trust fall, if you will, into what they're moving into at this time as it relates to the new journey and approaches that the feminine is taking at this point. For masculine energy that is in union with feminine, you two are also feeling a bit of this as well, but you are getting a lot of support. You're getting a lot of support from the feminine energy that you feel has this ability and degree to take this logical approach, to take this higher intuitive approach that is helping you as you push forward past this point for yourself at this time. While for the masculine and feminine energy right now, that is not in union, this is going to feel a little bit different. Because what we're really identifying right now is, again, for the masculine energy that is not in union right now, what we're really seeing is this is a moment that you are trying to take potentially a leap of faith, potentially even towards a feminine energy right now, that again, we see that there has become some moment that they have become emotionally distant, emotionally cut off to a certain degree. And you are recognizing to a certain extent that this feminine energy, you're encountering it and you're trying to take new approaches because this feminine energy is operating from a space of their higher intuition and their higher logic at this time. This can often come across as feeling a bit cold. It can come across as feeling very distant. It can come across as feeling very hard to connect with this energy because they've effectively pulled themselves back and they're operating very much in that higher intuition and logic-based approach right now. While for the feminine and masculine, and so for the masculine energy, this could be some of that new conversation, that new attention, that new point of healing that you're trying with this feminine energy to recognize, to see if that is something that will allow them to be able to be receptive to you. For the other part of the masculine energy right now, this is a moment that you're potentially moving towards a new energy that you see is in this space, having recognized, again, if this is multiple energies right now, that there's something here where you are feeling like you are healing from a feminine energy that has effectively cut off their emotionality towards you right now. And you are looking towards moving towards a feminine energy that you feel won't necessarily come forward in a space of having unhealthy emotional connections, but is able to maintain a higher degree of intuition and logic-based approaches. This could be the direction that you are moving into right now, as instead of trying to heal, as you yourself are going on that healing journey. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Queen of Swords in its reversal. So for feminine energy right now, this is what we're seeing this leap of faith has to be in, because what we're identifying for the feminine energy that is so difficult right now is, while the feminine energy is staying very kind of closed off and guarded to a certain extent, they're navigating this space where they're using a lot of their higher intuition and their higher logic at this point. The leap of faith that the feminine energy has to take right now, I keep pointing this out, has to do with allowing themselves to be vulnerable, putting their guard down, if you will, right? Putting their guard down, allowing themselves to be vulnerable. Feminine energy is in this point right now where they recognize there's something about this path ahead is effectively requiring them to some degree to have to allow themselves some point of vulnerability right now. But we're seeing here that this is that navigation point that the feminine is struggling with right now, because while the feminine energy is working from this higher logic-based approach and is trying to take this leap of faith, they're feeling like opening their heart space. Opening their heart space puts them in a state of feeling overly vulnerable, which is why there is such a challenge to it at this moment. For feminine energy, this is something that you're effectively navigating at this point. If you're in union right now with masculine energy, then this is something that you are potentially expressing towards the feminine and like masculine energy at this time. This could even be a moment that you're working with a masculine energy to simultaneously take this leap of faith into the unknown right now, but also again navigating with this higher logical center, but also having a point of recognizing to the masculine energy how this puts you in a feeling or a state of vulnerability at this time. For the feminine energy that's being supported by masculine, this is a part of a shared journey that you're working through. Masculine energy is effectively simultaneously moving towards you at this time to help you understand that that is a space that you can be safely inhabiting with them, hence this Page of Wands and this work to heal the karmic connection. While for the masculine and feminine energy that are not in union right now, this is the challenge point that you are potentially experiencing as it relates to coming into union at this moment. Because what we're really identifying here is that there's something for the masculine right now where, again, you are effectively potentially trying to take a leap of faith right now towards a feminine energy that you are seeing is in this higher logical, somewhat cold moment right now. And you're trying to build a space or opportunity to help them recognize that it is safe to put their guard down without feeling like that is something that is going to be difficult or leaving them too open to be hurt. While for the masculine energy, for some of the masculine energy here right now, this could even, I'm going to say it again, be more than one feminine energy that you're effectively moving towards right now. One that feels like they have their guard down to a certain extent versus another that you feel is very separate or cold in some degree. But we see that you're moving in this new direction towards these as you move away from a feminine energy that you feel is no longer allowing you into their heart space. While for the feminine energy right now, this is a moment that you're leaving yourself open to these new approaches, open to these new opportunities, open to these new experiences, but also simultaneously feeling this anxiety or difficulty in terms of holding to your own logic-based approach right now, while also experiencing or feeling some point of deep vulnerability, even as you allow yourself to embark on these journeys. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Empress card in its reversal. So this is what we're seeing that is happening right now. For the feminine and masculine energy, this is going to feel a little bit different. For feminine energy right now, there's a lot of anxiety about protecting one's own heart or feeling some point of failure or worrying about some point of a lack of victory in this. For feminine energy right now, this could be feeling a lot of potential disappointment energy as it relates to your own emotional center at this time. Feminine energy is moving through this at a point where it's also challenging their own belief and trust in oneself and being able to generate love of the self and also be able to receive it fully from others right now. And what we're really seeing for the feminine energy that's proving a bit of a challenge right now is a lot of your own doubts and fears potentially rising to the surface right now as you are experiencing this energy. For masculine energy right now, if you're working in union with feminine energy, this is that point that you are effectively working on right now to try to encourage them, to try to give them support, to try to help them see through their own feelings of doubt or fear in this moment through healthy communication and trying to restore their own energy as it relates to their own feelings of positivity in this moment. While for the feminine and masculine energy right now that are not in union, this is going to feel like a bit more of a challenge space, because for masculine energy specifically, we are seeing here that there are some doubts and some fears that are rising up as to whether the feminine energy is going to allow you back in to their heart space. This is what is allowing or driving some of that energy for some of the masculine collective right now towards this feminine, to see if there is any possibility here while you're simultaneously feeling and experiencing actively a lot of these doubts and fears. While for the other part of the masculine collective right now, this is simply something that you're effectively just moving away from right now because you're feeling like there is no point of success here, that this feminine energy isn't going to be accommodating or accepting of this energy towards you right now. And this is that point of trying to like move through or navigate that feeling of defeat that you are yourself are potentially experiencing at this moment. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with this is feeling like a bit of a frustrating energy here because we've got here our Five of Swords. So there's something here that feels like it needs to be addressed. Feminine energy right now is going through some of this because the feminine energy, is going through a moment where they're feeling a lot of this blockage in their heart space. They're feeling a lot of feelings of doubt and fear right now as it relates to their own success in maintaining that ability to feel love, to accept love, to generate love for themselves at this time. Because there's something that is coming through right now for the feminine that feels unresolved. It feels unfinished. It feels like something that requires some point of resolution. Feminine energy is either trying to build this point of resolution for themselves at this moment, or they are actively experiencing something that needs to be addressed to help communicate where they are feeling at this time and why they are feeling this way. For the masculine energy that is working in union with feminine, this is that point of addressing the hurdle, addressing the obstacle, working in navigation with the energy to try to understand and overcome why the feminine energy is in this space or feeling these doubts and fears right now. This is, again, a unified approach that the masculine and feminine energy are taking if they are in union right now. For the masculine and feminine energy that are not in union right now, this is effectively the challenge point that we're seeing, because we see here for the masculine energy that you feel this need or this desire to want to move forward from this point, but you're feeling called back towards this energy that you feel has effectively blocked you off to some degree or capacity, that you're feeling like there's something that is unresolved here, which is, again, this need or desire for the masculine energy right now to go forward towards that feminine energy, to see if there's some ability to heal the connection, to see if there's some point that can allow for that heart space to be opened again. For masculine energy that is moving through this right now, this is feeling like a bit of that hurdle and challenge. And again, either you are working actively by moving towards this feminine to try to address, or you're committing yourself to like building this resolution or this point of closure for yourself at this moment as you push away from this energy and start to seek out new potential connections in other feminine manifestations at this time. But for feminine, what we're really identifying is this is that moment that feminine is not going back to situations or circumstances that have caused them pain, because if feminine hasn't seen that change, then they identify that they're not going to go back to spaces and places that have caused the injury in the heart space in the first place. Feminine energy is not returning. They're putting their conviction right now, again, potentially into addressing this within themselves, but leaving themselves open to a certain degree, but recognizing that the reason that they're feeling like this is because something feels open-ended. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Empress card in its reversal in combination with our Six of Cups energy in its reversal. So again, feminine and masculine energy, this will feel a bit different. For feminine and masculine energy that are in union right now, this could be having to work right now with a feminine energy that is dealing with potentially unified work in terms of a lot of unhealthy or unhealed karmic energy. But these unhealthy or unhealed karmic connections right now may be having a detrimental impact on the feminine's own sense of self at this time. Masculine energy working in union right now with feminine energy is potentially helping the feminine energy navigate some of these points and spaces as it relates to unhealthy or unhealed karmic connections that are around the feminine that are putting them in this vibration, simultaneously having this be a unified effort as you move forward on your healing journey. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in union right now, this is the point of potential challenge, because what we're really seeing here is the feminine energy is in a space where they are doubting their own ability to love or their own feelings of love because of some of these unhealed karmic wounds around them, these unhealed karmic energies. This is that moment that the feminine is putting, as we said, a lot of optics and looking at these energies to try to identify if they can move into a space of healing, or if they're going to continue to be in this degree or desire of unhealed karmic energy right now. For masculine energy, this is that moment that a lot of your care and attention could potentially be directed towards a feminine energy that you yourself are not feeling that expression of love from right now. You're feeling this point at a distance, but you're still feeling the karmic pull of that energy right now. You are having this point of assessment. You are looking at the unhealed karmic connection between you both right now, trying to ascertain and ask yourself, is there some ability to restore this at this moment? Or is this feminine energy in a place where they're not going to be open emotionally to you going forward from this point? May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Judgment card in its reversal. So again, this is that point of reconsideration that is happening for both masculine and feminine energy. Well, for the masculine and feminine energy that's in union right now, this is masculine energy potentially having to work right now with or towards a feminine energy that they're identifying is trying to navigate some of this unhealthy karmic energy that's around them at this time, that's putting them in the space of not feeling this point of appreciation in themselves at this moment. Masculine energy is potentially working with feminine to, again, make some changes, allow for some points of adjustment, to have some point of flexibility, and working with the feminine energy to try to articulate that there's a point of flexibility that can be reached here to help shift and amend the way that you're both feeling as it relates to the feminine energy experiencing this right now. This is masculine energy really coming through right now for the feminine with a lot of verbal communication, ideas, plans, support. Well, for the feminine energy, all for the sake of deeper healing, if the masculine and feminine are in union right now. While for the masculine and feminine energy that are not in union right now, this is a moment of having that point of recalibration. For feminine energy right now, what we're seeing is the fact that feminine energy is moving from a space, thank you for the gift, where they are feeling a lot of doubts and fears in their own confidence of the self and their own ability to love the self at this time, due to a lot of consideration and orientation to a lot of the unhealed karmic connections that are around them at this time, feeling and expressly experiencing a lot of these maybe either metaphysically or tangibly right now at the moment. And this is requiring the feminine energy to effectively doubt their own judgment or question their own judgment at this time. It's creating a moment of confusion for the feminine energy potentially. But one that I need to point out is really important, because this is a feminine energy that is recognizing to a certain extent that the confusion might be the point. The reason that these energies might feel like they are unhealed karmic energies is because they seem to only desire to want to bring confusion into the life of the feminine energy, hence making that the result of it being an unhealthy karmic connection. This is feminine energy having that point of observation, even as they take logic-based approaches and proceed forward from this time. While for the masculine energy right now that is here, this is that moment that you yourself are again looking with a lot of focus towards a feminine energy that you are feeling has to affect or to some degree closed off their own heart space to you at this moment. You are also looking right now towards this energy. You're feeling the pull of that karmic energy pulling you back, having this point of asking yourself, is there this point of a redress? Is there this point of possibility in healing the connection? And this is that moment that you are effectively, again, either turning towards that feminine energy to see if there's a point of reconsideration that is possible here, or for the other part of the masculine collective right now, this is you effectively having a point of reconsideration as it relates to the connection itself, working potentially to, again, amend and move away from anything that you feel does not show that capacity of being healed. But one thing I think is really important about this right now for the masculine energy that even is potentially moving away from this is there may be a point of reconsideration that you're now having on the optics of the situation. We've been seeing this over the last few days coming through in the cards right now. There's a lot of internal work right now that masculine is learning, specifically as it relates to their optics or their point of view now from a distance, from a point of moving away from something that is helping them get deeper clarity in terms of the circumstances and situations that may have led to a feminine energy pushing them away, why it was coming through as unhealed. This is masculine energy potentially even having a moment for you right now where you're recognizing and you're understanding things better. that is now giving you that sense of understanding and clarity that is going to help you make different decisions going forward from this point. So again, as we saw yesterday in the cards, with the continuation of this being a point of redressing, a point of going back to heal something, or a deeper lesson that the masculine energy is coming through and learning right now with that point of optics on the past experiences that have caused these situations in the first place. Continuing to get clarification right now between our Six of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Queen of Swords in its reversal. So for feminine energy right now, this is a moment that feels a bit difficult. There are some hurdles right now and challenges for the feminine energy, because what we're really identifying right now is the fact that the unhealthy or the unhealed karmic energy around the feminine effectively makes them feel very vulnerable. It makes them feel very disempowered. It makes them feel very weak. But what we appreciate about this right now for a feminine energy that's going through this right now is feminine energy is looking at this with a lot of logic. They're not allowing themselves to get emotional over this right now. They're utilizing their own logical center to recognize the experiences that make them feel vulnerable, that make them feel uncertain, as the point of recognizing that that is potentially the unhealthy or unhealed karmic energy, but utilizing logic-based approaches in terms of how to move forward from this point. For masculine energy that is in union with feminine right now, this is you effectively, again, coming in to effectively support a feminine energy that you recognize has this point of vulnerability or weakness towards some unhealthy karmic energy that is around them at this time. Masculine energy is coming through right now with new possibilities, new suggestions, support, all to the effect of being able to heal both this energy that feminine is experiencing that makes them vulnerable, but also masculine energy's own ability to interpret these as simultaneously unhealthy karmic connections, because they are observing where they put the feminine to a certain extent. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in union right now, this is a moment that is feeling like a bit of a challenge point, because again, we see here that there's a feminine energy that is open and vulnerable, but is feeling very anxious and cautious right now as it relates to identifying whether the energy coming towards them right now is healthy, healed karmic energy or unhealed karmic energy. While for the masculine energy, this is a moment of trying to ascertain if this feminine energy will be open and vulnerable to trying to heal the karmic connection. While for feminine energy right now, this is effectively having to express or communicate their own anxieties and fears around their vulnerability in doing so, were that to occur. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with we like this. We like this. We love seeing this card and it's upright right now. This is good. And we've been seeing this coming through and it's upright over the last few days. This is very positive, because what we're really seeing here is for both masculine and feminine energy right now, there is this point of trying to maintain a point of optimism going forward from this point. Feminine energy is recognizing, right? Is recognizing that they're going through some moments right now that are shaking their own feelings as it relates to vulnerability. But what is feminine doing in this time? Are they letting themselves sink into that feeling? Are they letting themselves come into a place of being disheartened? No, feminine energy is moving towards their joy. Feminine energy is keeping committed right now to their path of positivity at this moment. The spaces and places that make them feel positive, supported, happy. They're chasing after their happiness right now, and they're moving with a degree of trying to do things for the best possible situation possible and maintaining that bright, positive point moving forward. Really trying to manifest through some situations or circumstances that have them feeling somewhat vulnerable. Feminine energy is utilizing a very logic-based approach here, which is an observation around unhealed energy right now, but not necessarily letting themselves be, that they recognize that they have a bit of vulnerability to, but they're not letting themselves fall prey to like feeling any sense of anxiety or potential confusion that that feeling may inspire. Instead, they're focusing on their own happiness. They're focusing on their own joy to navigate going forward from here. For the masculine and feminine energy right now, that is working in union or partnership, this is that moment that the masculine energy is coming through. What did I say? What is the masculine energy helping with the feminine to do right now? They're lending insight. They're lending confidence. What are they doing? They're trying to lift the feminine spirits. They're trying to bring them into a space of positivity at this moment, to help them find the path that is going to bring the most happiness going forward, not just for the feminine energy, but for both collective energies together, because the masculine energy doesn't want to see feminine in this place of vulnerability. While for the masculine and feminine energy right now that is not in union, this is that moment of trying to work through. For the masculine energy right now that is trying to get back into a connection with the feminine that they're recognizing to a certain degree, feels like there is some unhealthy karmic energy around it that makes them feel too vulnerable to proceed forward, hence why they're taking this more logic-based approach. Masculine energy is trying to raise their spirits, trying to bring in this sense of confidence, trying to bring in this sense of understanding that they're going to move forward to a degree and capacity of working to change, working to affect a better future than what has occurred thus far. This is that wave of positivity the masculine's bringing in to shed light, to help the feminine energy recognize that this is something that can be done. While for the masculine energy that is not necessarily in a space where they feel this, because the masculine energy as well is going through some of this. I mean, there's something here with the masculine energy where this could be a shedding moment that we see. This could be a moment for some of the masculine energy where there might be even more than one feminine energy at play here. And what you're really kind of trying to interpret right now is the fact that there may be an energy that you would like to move towards right now, but you are experiencing some degree or capacity that you're unable to, because some of that feminine energy isn't willing or able to come back into karmic union with you because they feel that the union is not a healthy karmic connection. So instead, you're potentially turning your attention towards an energy that you feel is more available or more vulnerable or more acceptable, or that has some kind of easier positive outcome in the face of an energy that you recognize might be pointing out too much of a challenge here. So for half the masculine collective right now, this is trying to help them feminine energy, a single feminine energy that you feel is utilizing this logic-based approach, shed their guard so that you can bring in some of this point of positivity to help show them that you can heal this connection, or that you're not a part of that unhealthy karmic connection. For the other part of the masculine collective right now, this is effectively moving away from one energy that has cut you off or blocked you off as you move towards one that feels like it's much more open and receiving of what you're trying to bring in, because they're more vulnerable. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. For between our Five of Swords in its upright in combination with our Judgment card in its reversal. So what we're really seeing here right now is a moment that feels like there is this point of redressing, going back to the past, having to address something from the past for both masculine and feminine energy here, feeling some sensation of something that is unfinished. For masculine and feminine energy, there's something about having this point of addressing situations from the past that is giving you new clarity. It's giving you new optics. It's allowing you either to have a different point of view in terms of what occurred, or it's giving you a different decision to make at the present with some observation from the past. So again, either a point of going back to the past to see if there can be a point of adjustment, or allowing those experiences from the past to reframe your experiences in the moment and the choices that you are making thus as you proceed forward from this point. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Five of Cups. So it's the fact that there's some grief here. There's still a lot of grief that's being held about these past experiences. There's a lot of grief that's still being navigated. Today is a day to have to kind of face some of that grief. And that's why we see that there's a lot of care and orientation being paid right now in trying to keep in a positive mindset, because it's almost in a way to try to fend off some of this grief, some of that addressing point, because what we're seeing here is something about the present situation is making you have to look at some past experiences. It's making you have to look at some past experiences through new optics. But it's difficult because you're getting a lot of insight from those past experiences, but you have to relive the grief of the experience as you reconsider it. So for some of the energy right now, this is having that moment of grief or feeling too much grief that's requiring you to go back to situations or circumstances to see if there is some point of reconsideration or change that can occur around them at this point. While for others, there's something about your present experience that's making you kind of recall or have to look back on situations from the past that is allowing you to make different choices in the present, but is also really difficult because it's clearly a trigger point. It's created something that feels extremely triggering. As I said in the card of the day today, feeling almost like an echo effect of something happening now that you're having to like reach back into the past on to make sure that you're getting the education that you need to make a different change, to make a point of alteration, even while you're having to effectively relive that moment to better understand where you find yourself now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Judgment card in its reversal in combination with our Sun card. So for both masculine and feminine energy right now, this is that point of reconsideration. Some of you are feeling this right now as a point of reconsideration in terms of looking at past situations through new eyes, through new optics, having this clarity of foresight now as you look back that is now allowing you to either make different changes now in the present, to change your course in the present, or simultaneously to have a different perception, to have a different perspective on what occurred in the past, but doing all of this work right now to maintain a better future, a better outlook as you proceed forward from this point. For some of you, this is actually going back to address situations from the past to see if you can have a more positive point of view come through, a positive like outcome. While for others right now, this is that point of observation from the past, having that point that is helping you right now build towards a more productive future, which could feel more triggering and more traumatizing because it's requiring you to, again, open up some of that grief, even as you move towards your own joy at this time. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, we love this. We've got our Three of Pentacles coming through right now. This is talking about those new foundations that you're building for yourself at this moment. This work is not in vain. This work is not in vain right now because we see that you're doing this work for the best reasons possible. You are working right now on building solid, stable foundations around yourself, something that feels secure. For both masculine and feminine energy, there is a commitment right now to this degree of stability that you are trying to create for yourself at this moment. Both, and again, it is requiring a bit of reconsideration. It is requiring a bit of adjustment. It is requiring potentially, again, looking back at experiences of the past, having to relive some of that grief, also that you can have better outcomes moving forward as you continue to build a strong foundation for yourself as you proceed forward from this point. While for the other part of the collective right now, this is you effectively having to have a point of reconsideration on your choices as you move towards your joy, with a commitment towards building this strong foundation for yourself as you proceed forward from this moment. For both masculine and feminine energy right now, the commitment is the same. Wanting to build something new and strong and stable and keeping a positive outlook. For some of you right now, this is potentially going back to situations from the past and seeing if there is a possibility of still being able to do that around situations that you're carrying a lot of grief or difficulty on. For the other part of the collective right now, this is having to look at the past through new optics to allow you to make different choices going forward, to lead you into those spaces and places of positivity and stronger foundations going forward from this point. Final two cards, final card for today's spread, combination of our Five of Cups in combination with our Three of Pentacles energy. So what we're really seeing here that's so valuable is the fact that this is that point of reconsideration. This is feeling a lot of the weight and the grief of the past, of what has effectively been lost at this point. But recognizing that, again, allowing this to be a point where you're potentially trying to shift or adjust to your own positive outlook, to your own positive mindset, as you continue to build in this direction of laying a strong foundation for yourself as you proceed forward from this point. For masculine and feminine energy in union, this is a collective moment right now of having to have this point of feeling both like, again, grief on what is potentially past versus a commitment to what you're building. While for the masculine and feminine energy that is not in union right now, this could be feeling like a lot of heavy energy, because this is that moment of having to either recognize if something is completely feeling like there is something that is lost here, or if there's something that can begin again. If there's something here that can allow for a new foundation to be built. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Pentacles, which we like to see. What is going to give the difference here between whether these are points of grief versus whether these are places of productivity? It has everything to do with that tangible expression, with that tangible offer, with being able to show in some tangible way that change has occurred in these situations and circumstances. This is for both masculine and feminine energy, that moment of, again, having some kind of offer being put forth. And again, for masculine, this is potentially putting forth this offer today in terms of what you can offer to see if it is accepted. While for the feminine right now, this is kind of looking at what is being offered at this point to see if it is enough, thereby to be able to build or rebuild at this moment. And for masculine, there is the anxiety that we're seeing here in terms of what is being offered, in terms of whether it will be enough to build something new, or if this is something that is effectively going to be let go of. While for feminine right now, this is a moment of looking at what is being offered and asking yourself, can you let go of the grief of the past? Can you let go of this grief to build this foundation, or is the grief overwhelming the offer that is being offered at this moment that is requiring you to potentially turn away from what is being offered? Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is reciprocity. I love it. Makes perfect sense with what we just saw, because as you may see, as you may have noticed, there's something very important that's coming through right now about this idea of an equal give and take, of something that you can commit to that is also going to give back in kind. For both masculine and feminine energy right now, this is that focus point. Masculine energy, again, there's something about what you're putting forth right now, whereas there's this anxiety about whether it will be received. There's an anxiety about whether it will be received and whether you'll get back in kind right now. For feminine, there is similarly a moment right now where you're looking at what what's being offered, and you're asking yourself, does it feel reciprocal, either to what you yourself want to put into something at this time, or what you have put into something in the past that you are now having to have some kind of reconnection point or reconsideration point on at this moment. This is that moment that is really creating a sense of balance in terms of not just about the fact that an offer is potentially coming forth, but what is being offered, and is it matching the equivalence of the grief and the burden that is being carried in the wake of what is being offered. That is the big question right now. It's not necessarily the fact, I feel like there's something here that's coming through that feels like the offer itself, like the ability for the offer itself to be of value has passed. It now has to do with the fact that there is some kind of imbalance that is being addressed right now in terms of what someone has put into something versus what is now being presented, maybe even feeling like that what's being presented is a little late in coming. That suddenly changes it from being like the offer itself to looking at the offer and feeling and questioning whether it feels equitable, whether it feels balanced, whether it feels like it is reciprocal, or whether it is effectively going to require you to give forth more than you are getting back in kind. For masculine and feminine energy that is working through this together, there could be a lot of conversation around what feels reciprocal at this point to allow to create this point of balance as you go forward from this point. With masculine putting a lot of care and attention right now in trying to put forth that effort to show that there is this ability to change or to accommodate, to build this new stable foundation. While for feminine right now, this is a moment of, again, having to assess or communicate to the masculine energy what would feel balanced to help create that sense of stability for you at this time. While for the masculine and feminine energy that are not in union, if this is energy of the past coming back to try to offer something, there is now going to be the problem around this is weighing what is being offered versus the grief, versus the pain, versus the trauma, if you will, that has been experienced in potentially any point of delay from these opportunities coming towards you at this point. This is that point of not necessarily asking whether something's being offered now, but whether it is enough. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video with the option of a recording sent to you afterwards. And if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Also, please remember that if you book on my website, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading with me. Most importantly, I would like to remind you that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your DMs and tell you that I have a very special message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for having this reading with me today, and we will do this again tomorrow. Take care, everyone.